Hey class, my name is Mr. Villanueva. You probably or should know that by now, but anyways, let's get started on this video. This video is on scientific notation. Okay, what is scientific notation? Scientific notation is a way to write really big numbers and really small numbers. Okay, sometimes in mathematics you'll encounter a number that's like large or really small. Okay, and it's kind of hard to write them. I know if I were to see a gigantic number, my brain would just shut down and I would just like fall into a coma. Okay, but there's an easier way to get around that. Okay, enter scientific notation. Scientific notation is to help alleviate that. Alright, so I'm going to give you a really big number, really small numbers. We're going to work through some examples, and hopefully at the end of this video you'll have a better idea on how to utilize it. Okay, so how about I give you this number? I'm going to give you 52,300. Okay, that's a pretty big number. When I see this, I'm like, I do not want to multiply that, add that, get that number away from me. Okay, well, I have to write this in scientific notation. Okay, right now, if you have just a regular number, we usually call that this number is in standard form or expanded form. Okay, so you usually hear those two things synonymously, meaning that they're the same thing. Okay, but I want to get this from standard form to be in scientific notation. Alright, now first off, in this number I gotta find out where the decimal point is. Well, I don't see one. When you never see one, it's always at the end of the number. Okay, just like how in a sentence the period is at the very end. Okay, that's where it's always going to be. It's not going to be right in the middle, always at the end. Okay, and in order to write the number in scientific notation, you need that decimal point to be one space to the right of your first number that's not a 0. Okay, well our first number, well, it's a 5. I want it to be one space right. So I want it in between the 5 and the 2. Okay, so from here to over here, this decimal point, he's going to travel a little bit. Okay, we're going to count how many spaces he goes to get over here. Alright, so let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so that decimal point is over here. That's his new home. Okay, so we rewrite our number like this. When you rewrite it in scientific notation. Okay, you write everything with the exception of zeros that are to the left of the number or to the right of the number. So I want to get rid of these zeros. I'm making this number smaller. So I'm going to write it like this. We're going to have 5.23. Okay, so notice how I wrote this. Those zeros I'm not including. I don't want them. Go away. Okay, and you always, the way that it's written in the form is times 10. And it's going to be to some power. Now I want you to notice that we moved it 4 to the left. Now I'm going to show you something. Okay, that something is this. Alright, what I've written over here, and I've seen this before, and when I saw this I'm like, I must share this with people. The general public must know this. Okay, I have a decimal point over here, and it says whether I move it to the left or to the right. Okay, well if I move it to the left, it tells me, you know what, that decimal point is going up. It's going to increase. If I move it to the right, it's going to go the opposite way. It's going to go down. It could potentially be negative. Alright, so let's do this. I move that decimal point to the left. I'm going to fold it like that. So I know that it's going to go up. So I need to put an exponent somewhere here. It's always how much you move. So I'm going to put 4. Okay, and since it did move up, it's going to be positive 4. So our final answer in scientific notation is 5.23 or 5 and 23/100 times 10 to the 4th. Okay, so that's a simple example. I'm going to give you another one. Okay, so let me erase this. Alright, I'm going to put 0.000000314. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we have a bunch of these zeros. Now, even though there's a lot of numbers in here, this is a very, very small number. Okay, that's a 4. Alright, so our decimal point's over here. Okay, I see it, but we want it on the first number that's not a 0. And to introduce some vocabulary in that, it has to be anything that's not a 0 we call a significant digit. Okay, significant digit. Okay, well I'm going to count over here. You know, I'm going to do this in red. Let's count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it's going to be right over here, 8. All right, remember it's the first. It's right of the first number that's not a 0. Okay, and I said that we moved 8. And move to the right. All right. So what this number is I'm going to rewrite everything that's not a 0. So I'm going to put 3. Okay. That decimal point's over here. 0.14. You got to write times 10 to the, and we moved 8. So I'm going to put an 8 over here. Okay, but just looking at this as well, we just said, well, we're moving 8. So I'm going to look at this over here. Okay, we moved 8. So that means the exponent is going to go down. So it's not going to be positive 8. Since we're going down, you're going to want to think negative. So this is a negative 8. Okay, and when you have numbers that are less than 0, their exponent is, for the most part, negative. Okay, and that would be our answer here. Alright, so it's, the way I say this is 3.14 or 3 and 14/100ths times 10 to the negative 8. Okay, well, simple enough. Well, I think that with this, practice makes perfect. So I'm going to give you one more example to recap this video. Alright, so I'm going to write this number. I'm going to give you a number that actually represents something in real life. That number is this. 270,000 square miles. Okay, now I didn't get this number from out of the blue. This number actually represents something. If you were to search up Great Pacific Garbage Patch, that sounds weird, but what that is, it's a giant patch of garbage that's just in the ocean. Okay, and it's 270,000 square miles. That's what my sources from Wikipedia tell me. Okay, so right now I'm going to put it up on the screen. I'm actually going to give you a map that has a map around Sky Point of Somerset. Okay, so on the yellow where it says Sky Point, there is a red square outlining it. That's just kind of like the neighborhood around it, but what that represents is that represents 1 square mile. Okay, so off to the right you can see that there's Elkhorn. Off to the left you can see that there's a park right across from the freeway. You can see the hospital. Okay, so that's 1. That's 1 square mile. Multiply that by 270,000. That gives you how much garbage is in this Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Okay, well, I really don't want to deal with that number, so let's, we're going to get that in scientific notation. Alright, so a decimal point, don't see one. You got to remember, it's at the end of the number if you never see it. That's where it is. I want it to be 1 space right of our first significant digit. Our first significant number or digit is 2, so it's got to be right after it. It's got to be right over there. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that's 5. Move 5 to the left. So am I going to write this entire number in scientific notation? Nope. I'm only going to write everything that's not a 0. So I'm going to write 2 decimal points right there. 0.7 times 10 to the, it is the 5th power. And since we move to the left, we can get this little constructible. Move to the left, it's going to go up. So since it's going up, it's going to be positive 5. Okay. Alright, so this number is 2.7 or 2 7/10 times 10 to the 5th power. Okay. Alright, so that's our last example. Hopefully this helped you in scientific notation. Need any help, don't hesitate to ask. But that's it. Alright, bye.